well, what makes you so different than the bigger people? And I always have to bring them back down. I don't have a sales pitch for you. What I can promise you is that I'm going to lay you out a roadmap and I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm not going to pass your case over to somebody that's not licensed. I'm going to be the one working the case, and I work your case regardless of if you owe $10,000 or if you owe $100,000. I'm going to work it the same way.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Broadcast Your Authority, and I'm super excited for this next episode. We had a client actually flying all the way from Georgia. I was like, woo, woo, and we're in Vegas right now. So I can say, so I'm so excited to have Melinda here, but I'm actually going to pass it over to my co-host, Jonathan, who's going to introduce Melinda today.
Thank you so much. So I'm super excited. We have Melinda Tolbert, who's the founder of MJ Tax Relief Group. She has over 18 years of experience in the tax resolution industry. She recently achieved the highest credential awarded by the IRS as an enrolled agent. She's authorized to represent taxpayers before the IRS alongside tax attorneys. Her passion lies in helping individuals navigate complex tax issues with ethical and innovative solutions tailored to each client's unique circumstances. Melinda has received numerous accolades and is known for her compassionate expertise, empowering clients to overcome tax challenges with integrity and grace. So first, Melinda, I guess, what sets you apart from other tax businesses?
To kind of give you a visual of what sets us apart is where I live, there's about a little over 200,000 in population. There's over 700 tax preparers, registered tax preparers. Out of those 700, only 16 of us are licensed enrolled agents. So that kind of gives you a visual of what sets me apart from that. And also, we're the only firm where I live that is actually licensed to represent tax preparers before the Internal Revenue Service. So we're not the ordinary tax preparers. We are actually licensed by the Internal Revenue Service. And that's basically what sets us apart.
That's a big deal.
It is.
That's a big deal. You're a big deal.
I am.
Can you go into a little bit? I don't think people understand that there's people that prepare taxes, okay, and they may or not be a CPA or EA. And can you talk about, what people are actually licensed to do and why what you have is a separate credential and why it's so important?
So surprisingly, a lot of people don't understand or haven't even heard of an enrolled agent. Naturally, when somebody gets in tax trouble, they think to call their tax preparer, a CPA, or even a tax attorney. They don't think about enrolled agents. By the time they get to me, if they've tried to get the issue resolved through their tax preparer, the tax preparer, if they're not a trained enrolled agent, a licensed enrolled agent, there's a lot of stuff that you won't know to help individuals resolve or businesses resolve tax issues. Tax preparers cannot, number one, they're not licensed to represent you before the Internal Revenue Service. They don't understand what it takes to do an offer and compromise or a payment plan or a partial pay installment agreement. Enrolled agents are the only people that are federally licensed by the Internal Revenue Service. A tax attorney, they're licensed by the state, but we're not. We can help taxpayers across the United States.
I have a question about that as a business owner. So I love that you just clarified that distinction of there's a state tax issue would be different than an IRS tax issue, yes, and that you're an enrolled agent. If I were to receive a threatening letter as a business owner from the IRS, what would you advise me to do?
I would advise you to first open the envelope and read it.
Step one. Done.
Okay, what percentage it goes?
Yeah, they call and
What is done?
I ask, well, what did the letter say?
They're like,
I
you
don't
open
know.
it.
I didn't open it. I didn't read it. So it kind of depends on where
That would
you
be
are.
me.
Yeah.
Like a stack of
Hey, here.
It depends on where you are in the collections process. That will determine our next step and our recommendation to you. Something that we do first is we do what's called a case evaluation. And it's kind of like a discovery in a criminal case or a civil case with an attorney. We do it for 10 years. We go all the way back 10 years to make sure we don't miss anything. And then we bring the client in for another meeting after they pay for the case evaluation. We'll give them a kind of like a roadmap of their next steps and what we can do to help them.
How did you get into tax resolution? Because so many people, there's a lot of ways you can go with tax and accounting. A lot of people don't know about it. How did you get into this industry?
So my story is a little different than others. I've been in the tax industry for over 18 years. I first got into taxes. It was a hobby for me. It was just something to do to make some really quick money because I heard tax preparers make a lot of money. Well, that success for me in year 3 of my business, it turned into a tax problem that I had because I was just preparing taxes. I didn't know anything about paying payroll taxes. I didn't know about books and records. I was just this 23-year-old young lady trying to make some money. So when I received the letter from the Internal Revenue Service saying that I was audited, I did back then what a lot of people do now. I ignored the letter. It wasn't until it was time for me to get married that I had to get my issue resolved because I was hiding it from my husband and I didn't want him to find out. Well,
I'm sure you're the only one that's ever done that.
Right. So after I found out that no one within a 100-mile radius could help me with my problem,
Wow.
and I had to get married. So I had to learn how to resolve my own issues. So after I resolved my own issues, I always think of ways to serve others and give back. And I was praying for my passion, number one, because I was still young and I was still doing this, that, and that. And I'm very Christian. And I spoke with my pastor about it. And something that he always ended our conversation with is your passion is in your problem. And I'm like, Lord, what are you talking about? I ain't got no problem. I'm just trying to find out what my passion is. Shortly after that, I realized, you know what? That's why I had that tax issue. God had to sit me down and he had to actually take me through what others are going through for me to learn and for me to be able to understand exactly what business owners are going through. So from there, of course, I didn't know that I had to be a licensed enrolled agent. So I started doing my research and I started studying to become an enrolled agent, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. And, for you, I guess, can you talk about some of like the recent cases you've had and the success stories that you've had with clients and how you've helped change their lives and help their businesses?
Yes. So a case that I'm working on right now is one of my largest cases of my career. This business owner owes the IRS a couple millions of dollars. And she started not to come to my business. We had a very serious conversation, and I was on her and I was telling her, listen, if you retain me and if I accept you as a client, you have to promise me that you're going to do this, 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 and this. Because if you're not, regardless of what I do, is not going to help you. So at the end of that conversation, she cried. Number one, because it was an instant relief to her, knowing that she no longer had to talk to the IRS and knowing if somebody popped up at her business again, like they have done in the past, she knows to tell them, I have representation. Call my enrolled agent, Melinda Tolbert. So it was a relief for her. She cried, we hugged, and we always pray. And she just told me, I'm just going to be honest with you. I started not to call you. And I was like, why? And she said, well, because I asked around and my business owners' friends, they told me I needed to call one of those national companies. I said, well, did you call the national company? And she said, yeah. I said, well, did you work with them? She said, yeah. She said, I'm just going to be honest with you. I wish I would have called you first.
And why is it that, so many people call these national companies and they, in my experience, don't get the results that they expect or want, and they're unable to follow through. Why do you think that is?
I think because with the bigger companies, they're just a number and a dollar sign. They can't call in like they can smaller businesses. They can't call in. They can't drop into the office. They don't know who's working their case. A lot of times their fees are a lot lower because they have people working on their cases that aren't even licensed.
You pay for what you get for it.
You pay for what you get. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, if I owed the IRS a couple $1,000,000, I'm not going to play around. I'm hiring a professional.
That's right.
Well, it's like, would you go to your general practitioner if you knew you needed heart surgery?
Absolutely. Right? And that's a rejection that I get a lot when we come across price, and they say, well, what makes you so different than the bigger people? And I always have to bring them back down. I don't have a sales pitch for you. What I can promise you is that I'm going to get you, I'm going to lay you out a roadmap, and I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm not going to pass your case over to somebody that's not licensed. I'm going to be the one working the case, and I work your case regardless of if you owe $10,000 or if you owe $100,000. I'm going to work it the same way.
You must be busy.
Very busy all year. We're not seasonal like other tax preparers. We're busy all year.
I would think too that you have, when you're talking to people in that conversation, you have a significant competitive advantage in saying, these bigger companies, A, you're a number, you're not a human,
right?
And B, I'm actually an enrolled agent with the IRS.
Right.
We're going to get this done.
Right.
And you don't know that to be true with these other people. And so if you want a straight line to success, I'm your girl.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm on your team.
Absolutely. You have to let them know, because some of them think that they can do it. Well, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself? And I have to tell them, well, if you could have done it yourself, you wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be $2 million in debt to the IRS.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but I think that there's an education problem, because most consumers, humans, we don't know that there's someone called an enrolled agent that is better qualified.
No idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea until you got here.
Right.
I would have had no idea. And now I'm so glad that I know you, because God forbid, should I ever need you?
Right.
I mean, I love you, but I don't want to need you. But should I ever need you, right?
I wouldn't question hiring you.
So, knowing that you are very service-based, I mean, I think you have a podcast, but I mean, how are you helping to get the word out?
Yeah.
Marketing. Like I said, we're trying to educate people on the differences between a tax preparer, a CPA, and an enrolled agent, because they just don't know. So it's kind of hard to market nationally. So most of my business is local based. Yeah.
Do you find though that like CPAs find you to be competitive to them? Like, do they don't? They want to pass stuff off to you.
They don't have time to do this type of work, because the type of work that I do, I'm on the phone with the IRS 99% of the time throughout the day. CPAs don't have time for that. They don't even have the training or the experience to help a business owner resolve the problem. They keep books. That's what CPAs do. I don't want to have anything to do with keeping books. I know my lane. My lane is to help business owners
solve problems.
Yes, that's what I do.
You solve the hardcore
That's
problem.
Right.
I mean, we were talking in the back room, and I was talking to John, and it was like, of all the government agencies there are, the last one I want knocking on my door is the IRS or Homeland Security, because you're in deep doo-doo.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so why do you think so many business owners fall behind on their taxes?
Oh, gosh. Where do I start? Number one, knowledge. They're not aware of how payroll taxes work. They're not aware that they're supposed to pay quarterly taxes, or they are aware and they just don't do it. Not only taxpayers are getting into trouble now, tax preparers are getting into trouble a lot now too, because there are a lot of due diligence components that goes with preparing taxes now. It's something that started a few years back. And if you don't meet that due diligence, you'll be fined about, I think it increased with inflation every year. And I think this year you can be fined $560 per
Return.
not per return, but per error. There's 4 different errors. So it's about a little over $2,500 per return.
Wow.
So
Or the tax preparer gets
for the
fined.
tax preparer, yes. I've been getting lots of calls to represent them before the IRS because they have $100,000+ balance with the IRS because of due diligence. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Sounds like a new niche.
yeah, the
I
IRS
know.
is a new niche for the IRS. It's a new source
know.
of income for the IRS.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a unicorn.
I know.
And a
You really
brilliant
are
one, too.
a brilliant
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You really
Beautiful.
are.
Thank you.
But like
Yeah.
you're like a unicorn that people need to see and
Yeah.
know and be in the know. I mean, I'm so grateful that you're sharing this wisdom, and so many more people need to know this because, I mean, yeah, I am the person that when you see a letter from the IRS, literally my heart stops
Yeah.
beating, my stomach sinks, I like get into a panic state. And I think that we have our first gut reaction of who it is that we would go to, but
Right.
it sounds like 99% of the
Yeah.
time it's the wrong gut
Yeah.
reaction of
Yeah.
who to go to.
It's such a big deal what you're talking about, this distinction of being an enrolled IRS agent. Like, that is a flaw in any business program or business school as business
Right?
owner. Like, that's a thing you want to know.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Or
I
accounting.
said it before, you're a big deal. I mean it.
Thank
It's a
you
big
are.
I
deal.
appreciate that. I'm trying to get the word out, letting people
We'll
know
help you.
your tax preparer is not the
Yeah.
person that you need to
No.
call when you have issues. Because if they do go to the tax preparer or somebody that isn't as well trained as I am, they've done things that harms their case, or the taxpayer have already spoken to the IRS and have kind of self-incriminated themselves. Like
Yeah.
I'll ask when they first come to me, okay, after they retain me, I ask, so what all have you told the agent? I ain't told them nothing, MJ. I haven't told them anything. So a part of my case evaluation is getting all of their records from the IRS, and I get to see every single thing they told the IRS. And I'm like, oh gosh, you told me you didn't say anything. And I find out they've told everything. So I recommend people calling a enroll agent. Don't even try calling the IRS if you have a balance, because the IRS is trained to collect. They're not trained to help you.
Do you have to work with an enrolled agent for your state?
No.
Can you work with an enrolled agent
good
that's
We're
question.
federally licensed.
Licensed.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So
you can
basically-
work with an enroll
You're in my
agent from
Rolodex.
anywhere. Yeah.
I'm curious, pulling the curtain back a little bit. I mean, how many times do you actually see the IRS make a mistake versus your
All the
client?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every case I've had, it's a mistake with the IRS or them abusing their power. And
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a really good example
Please do.
of them abusing their power. So I had a phone call this morning before I came here. It was a meeting, and on the phone meeting with one of the IRS revenue agents. And the call was for me I was just retained. So this is a very new case. The call was for her to go over everything she needed for me to help the client. Well, she flat out refused to send me anything. So I told her, I said, so let me get this correct. You're telling me that because you've mailed my client that has retained me, because you've mailed her letters in the past that she didn't respond to, you're flat out refusing to provide that information to me? And she told me yes. And I was like, okay, so number one, you can go ahead and wrap her case up and you can send it to the service, because we're going to go to tax court to see what the judge has to say about this. So it's that kind of stuff that people
Wow.
don't know. You have lots of rights, and one of them is the right to all of your information and all of your documents. And she told me to go and get whatever I needed from my client. And I told her, if my client had everything that I needed, I wouldn't be calling you. I don't even trust the client to provide me everything that I need. They don't know what they need.
Right.
So it's abuse of power like that that we have to go through with those internal revenue agents.
Speaking of tax court, I know that you're launching Tax Court TV coming up here, oh my God, yes.
When?
Well, you have an update on the studio?
We don't yet. We're actually trying to get here. It's so amazing here.
It's amazing.
So as soon as we can find a studio home, myself and my co-host is my tax attorney. It's going to be so good.
And you said you wanted to do
this is juicy,
right?
They're juicy. They're going to do stories based on like some of like the celebrity tax
cases. Yes.
Are you also going to be talking and sharing like real life scenarios too? Because I think that would attract more
100%
people as well.
That's one of the main reasons why we're going to launch this show is because number one, people don't have any idea what the enroll agent is.
No.
And number two, people think that the issues that celebrities go through because they are celebrities, that the everyday business owners don't have those issues, but we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do celebrity cases, small business cases. I'm a payroll tax relief expert. So that's my sweet spot, payroll taxes. That's what business owners normally have issues with, payroll taxes. So we're going to talk about payroll taxes a lot. And we're going to be like, you all are sitting there. It's getting juicy.
I'm ready to watch the show.
I think the IRS needs to look out because the secret about an enrolled agent is going to no longer be a secret as it should not be a secret.
I don't think it's a secret. It's just hard as hell to become an enrolled agent. It's not easy.
Resilience.
The test it's a 3-part 100-question test, and you have to know everything about taxes. So it equates to passing the bar.
I'm impressed.
Me too. Well, okay. Well, I'm excited about this. Those
like mind is blown.
Yeah.
We need to take selfies with her now.
Everybody,
I know, right? Can't get near before we're little people.
For those that are mind blown listening to this conversation, how can they get in touch with you?
So I'm on all social media platforms, Melinda_Tolbert. On Facebook, I'm known as, and also on Instagram, I'm known as the Queen of Tax. So
love it.
I like that.
Yeah.
The Queen of Tax.
Good.
Hashtag the Queen
we
of
need
Tax.
a crown.
The cream,
Cream of the crop,
Queen
the
of
Queen
Tax.
Oh, I love that. Well, I appreciate you so much for
Thank you for
flying
having me.
out here. You look gorgeous, popping in that jacket. So I'm excited for this episode to air and everybody else's episodes as well this season. So thank you again so much.
Thank you all for having me.
And
I
everybody
appreciate
watching this episode, definitely, if you're like, what is an enrolled agent? I need to learn more about this and connect with Melinda. Definitely do so. Be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.